Just around this bend is parking for Firehole Falls. Let's stop for a moment and take a picture or two, and then we can continue on. Just before we reach the end of the road is a great viewpoint right next to Firehole River. It's a spot along the river that's relatively still, where warm water is fed into the naturally cold river water upstream. This results in a place where the temperature is surprisingly comfortable. Now, it used to be open for swimming, but has since been closed. The Park Service deemed it too dangerous, especially since there aren't any lifeguards on duty here. Rats. I guess we can use those swimsuits in the hot tub at our hotel, right? We can still pull over and park for a pretty nice view, though. I'll point out the parking area once we get close. Parking for the river is coming up after the bend. You'll see a set of stairs to get down to the river. There's no parking right at the stairs, but if we go another 50 yards past, there's an off-road parking area on the left, and then we can walk back to the stairs. As a winter food source, storing them in their lodges. When the elk population was unnaturally high because there were no wolves predating on them, too many elk meant that they were chomping down too many willows, and the beavers suffered because of it. Now the wolves are back, there are less elk. That means more willows, and that's led to a healthy increase in the beaver population once again. And beaver zone. We know this is true because when the Lewis and Clark expedition came through later, they reported the same thing about what the Minotari used for the name. The difficult question is, why did the Indians call it Yellow Rock River? Was it for the yellow cliffs of the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone here in the park? Or was it for yellowish sandstone bluffs much further downstream and outside of the park area? Consensus among historians is that since the Minotari were
Lots of buffalo here. Bison. I think they're crossing the road too. Man, used to fighting. That's it. Let's pull over for a second. Get situated. This is what happens when there's wildlife around, especially wolves or bears. There's got to be wolves or bears or something for this many people this early. Look at this. Can't see shit because it's foggy out, but pretty amazing. No desire to stand there, watch a wolf 300 yards away, 500 yards away. No thanks. That is all. Pissed. I kind of fucked that up a little bit for him.
Here we are rolling down the hill towards Mammoth Hot Springs, and we should arrive pretty soon. If you've not been to Mammoth before, there are many things to do there. It's the home to Parks headquarters, and all services are available here. As we get closer, we should be able to see the hot springs steps from a distance. The white stone on the hillside is Terrace Travertine. We absolutely must spend at least an hour or even two exploring the 2 levels of the hot spring terraces. After exploring the terraces, we'll quickly arrive at the Liberty Cap, a fantastic rock formation that deserves a photo with us. Mammoth also represents the exit from Yellowstone towards Gardner, Montana. At that entrance, we'll find the Roosevelt Arch, a commemorative arch gate that provides a grand welcome experience to visitors. Well done. It looks like we're doing the loop. Just ahead, we'll see the first main parking area on the drive. This area provides access to the overlook for the terraces, and it is a stop we should make. It is really an impressive view over the main terraces, including surrounding mountains and overlooking the buildings of Mammoth Hot Springs. It's also possible to join the lower terrace walks from here too. But remember that if you go down, you will have to climb the stairs back up again. We are now passing by Prospect Terrace and also the New Highland Terrace, which I find particularly interesting for the trees, eerily trapped in the travertine when the spring was active more than 60 years ago. Around Yellowstone, there are quite a few places where trees have had the misfortune of growing where new hydrothermal activity has come to life. They're usually killed by the heat and choking mineral deposits. Quite often, they'll have white deposits at the bottom of their trunks, and these have the nickname bobby socks trees. After the hard bend to the left ahead is a small parking area for Orange Mound. It has grown into a pleasing, large, smooth mound and is decorated with a nice palette of colors. There are usually 2 or 3 active places where hot water continues to pour from the mound. There's a short boardwalk that allows us to view Orange Mound from different sides. It is definitely worth a short stop for the photo.
Okay.
As we continue, we drive by Bath Lake and White Elephant Back Terrace. Unfortunately, we're not allowed to take a bath in Bath Lake, and nowadays it's just more of a muddy hole. It must have been a nice warm pond at some time to have been given that name, I guess. There's just one more place that I recommend a quick stop at on this loop, and that is Angel Terrace. I'll point it out as we come along. The hot springs here at Mammoth can change literally daily. The plumbing underneath can be really quite intricate. So one day a spring might be flowing freely, then later something will change to disrupt the system, and the spring may stop flowing for a day, a month, or maybe even forever. Or the water might be redirected to a new place where it hasn't flowed before or has been dormant for quite some time.
Angel Terrace. All right.
Are built in the style of barracks. Of course, this is a reminder of how it was the Army that provided the first organized management of Yellowstone. Mammoth Hot Springs is a full-service location with lodging, gas, general store. We're about to enter an area that looks like there's been a rock slide. And that's exactly what happened here. This area contains what's called the Hoodoos. We can turn into the Hoodoos on the west side of the road after the bends. It's an unsigned small entrance right after a bend, so slow down and be ready for a quick turn. The loop is only about 150 yards long, but it takes us right through the boulder fields. A long time ago, these rocks tumbled down from an ancient hot spring formation that's now called Terrace Mountain. Now you might already know that the geological term for hoodoos means pillars or towers that have been left behind by erosion. So to a geologist, these are actually not true hoodoos, but it's believed these oddly arranged boulders were called hoodoos, mainly for their impressive appearance and not their true geological definition. It really does give you the feeling of being in a land of giants. They offer two places to view the Golden Gate, and also the pretty rustic falls. This section of the road is perched on the side of one of the cliff faces of Glen Creek Canyon. The steep cliff drop-off on the side of the road is a little unnerving, but I'm thankful for how the road has been engineered here today. If we were visiting in the late 1800s, there was only a very unconvincing wooden trestle bridge that was attached to the side of the cliff. Of course, visitors then toured slowly in horse-drawn carriages, so missing a turn and going down the cliff was not all that likely. Last fact, why is it called Golden Gate? This area was formed by a volcanic eruption, the rock created by fused volcanic ash. Most of the color comes from orange and yellow lichens that grow. The next right turn is the continuation of the Grand Loop towards the Tower Roosevelt area. To visit Mammoth's Albright Visitor Center and other services, continue straight. The Visitor Center turn is immediately on the right after the Grand Loop turn. Okay then, it looks like we're driving.
That's Buffalo.
Just up ahead, we'll see the buildings and signage for the Lamar Buffalo Ranch. I'll tell you the story about it, but it isn't really the type of place that we drop in on the spur of the moment. Mostly it's for holding classes and seminars, but it is an important place, and here's why. I tell many stories while we tour the park about the near total extermination of some wildlife and the efforts the NPS have gone to attempt to restore the balance of natural ecology before the effects of the migration and settlement of Europeans and Americans. As the name suggests, this location was focused on bison, or buffalo. Once many millions of bison ranged on the plains and into the mountains. As non-Native Americans moved into these lands, the bison were slaughtered as they were considered mostly a pest for the planned ranching activities with cattle, and for other reasons we won't get into right here. Even when Yellowstone was declared the first national park in 1872, it didn't suddenly mean that animals in the environment were automatically protected. Old habits are hard to break, and poachers continued hunting bison until at the start of the 20th century, there were less than 30 bison left. The idea of conservation another Spot the Wildlife Challenge. You want to see if you can find a moose that is always here? The best place to see it from is a larger pull-out ahead where we'll see a pit toilet and parking. Bye.